In this video, I'm going to introduce the Mission Data Card, or MDC, as well as a number of supporting tools that allow you to create and populate an MDC, such as the payload editor, and store MDCs, such as the personal vault or shared vault. Let's go over the major features of an MDC. First, it's highly suggested that you always step to the jet with the Mission Data Card. This allows you to have complete access to the major features of your flight. Let's go over a couple of sections of an existing Mission Data Card of energies. First, you'll notice that his call sign, mission number, package, and mission type are populated right at the top. So while call sign is obvious, let's look at the mission number. This is an automatically generated number when you create a new mission or ops board entry on the ops board. In this case, the 81 signifies that the member who created is a member of the 81st Panthers. The next two numbers signify the date and month of that sortie. So this would be the 13th of May. The final two digits signify which Mission Data Card, flight entry for the particular day that this mission represents. So this would be the fourth mission created for that day. The next number is a package number, which essentially is an automatically generated number, and it's random, but it's prepended with 476. And package numbers allow you to tie multiple flights together in the same mission or package. For example, in Energy's Mission Data Card, you'll notice that there are actually 4 distinct flights, and they're all a part of the same package. Because they've all selected the same package number when creating their ops board entry, they actually all show in each other's mission data cards. Finally, you'll note that Energy has decided that his mission is training. Next, we can actually see the members of the particular flight for Ford 3. So Energy is currently in the -1 slot, and there is no one in the -2. The mission data card pulled down the data link info, as well as the TACAN and laser code that Energy populated inside of his ops board entry. Next will be Energy's intended departing airfields. You'll notice that he has both departing at Nellis and the particular runway, as well as his arrival airfield, as well as an alternate airfield in case he needs to divert. The next section, Energy has included his intended flight plan. This includes each waypoint number, labels for the waypoints, the waypoint type, the particular navigate coordinates or offset for the entries, as well as his intended altitudes and airspeeds. The next section of the MDC includes his intended takeoff and loadout data. You'll notice that this section is divided by air-to-air, air-to-ground, any particular pods, and remarks, which includes the subtype of items that he may be carrying in either the air-to-air or air-to-ground areas. His gross weight, drag, minimum altitudes, as well as his rotation, refusal, departure type, which could be a formation departure or a visual interval in this case, and his intended rejoin. In other words, rejoining with his wingman, he intends to do straight ahead, as well as his fuel plan. The next section would be his target data. If known, Energy can supply what his primary target is in a description, the DIMPI, and the specific coordinates for that target. The next section would be his weapons profile. You're able to configure your intended weapons delivery profile and share that with other members who may be using the same mission data card. Next will be the supporting elements. In this particular mission, Energy has listed a tanker as well as the FAC-A that will be controlling the flight. Another example of a supporting element would be the AWACS that may be on station for your sortie. The next section are the intended radios that Energy plans on using. In this particular section, as he's in an A10, he's listed both the radio channels for the VHF AM or Victor, the UHF or Uniform, as well as the VHF Fox mic radio. You'll notice that he's included both presets as well as manual frequencies. This is totally fine. This is written in a format that indicates that he intends on, for example, the VHF AM radio starting on preset 2, then ultimately moving at preset 5, and then at some point during the flight going on to manual 133.65. Energy will brief his flight during which phases he plans on pushing to the respective channels or manual frequencies. Finally, there is a notes section of the MDC. This allows you to put any notes you wish to include in the mission data card and is not limited to text. It can also be images that you may upload or links to websites. Now let's look at a quick example of creating a very basic MDC and seeing how some of the tools such as the payload editor and the vault come into play. So what we'll do is we'll first go to the ops board and quickly create a flight. We won't worry about the details as we're really going to focus on the mission data card. We'll just make a change here to show how this stuff is automatically populated, and we'll also choose 7 Yankee here. So once we create our entry, a default MDC will be generated for our flight, Alamo 1. We can now edit this MDC. The first thing to notice is that all of that information is populated for you from the ops board entry. This includes the mission number, as I'm a member of the 76, and today is the 12th of May, and it's the second flight created. And here our random package number, and we left training by default, all of the data that we just covered in Energy's flight. So of course, we're not operating in Georgia for our mission, so we'll need to make a number of changes to this MDC. We'll quickly edit it, choose our departing runway. I won't do all of these, just want to give you a general sense of it. We can enter our waypoint names and coordinates. We can change any aspect of the MDC that is editable. And here you'll note the notes section where a number of items can be included. Now, instead of populating all of these aspects, especially the takeoff and loadout data, we're going to use our payload editor. So let's save the changes that we've made thus far. And what we'll do next is under Tools, we'll go to the payload editor. Here, a number of pre-configured payload options are defined in a list. We can also manually configure any particular station we wish, as long as we're doing it in accordance with 476 standards. You'll note that the payload editor tool is automatically adjusting the drag index, the gross weight, and the rotation speed based on your default takeoff fuel. Any changes in this tool will modify all of the data for your particular flight. Let's go ahead and make a remark. Typically, what goes in the remarks would be any amplifying data or data to clarify what your intentions are. For example, if I plan on carrying 2 AIM-9s, but I want them to be trainers, I would simply include that in my remarks. This would indicate to everyone that particular air-to-air ordnance I'm suggesting would be trainer ordnance and not the live fire ordnance. Now what I can do is, as I have an active mission that's Alamo 1, it will automatically show here. Optionally, I can use the payload editor to add this information to an existing stored MDC in my vault. We'll cover the vault in just a moment. For now, let's just copy this to Alamo 1. What you'll notice now is that the Alamo 1 flight has all of this data populated automatically from the payload editor. I can, of course, edit this MDC and change any particular detail I wish. Now let's assume that we're very happy with our MDC and it's fully populated. If I don't store this MDC, it will only be available to me for this flight. And once this flight is over, I will lose the contents of this MDC. For your convenience, a vault has been provided to you. The vault is accessed from the Tools, My Vault section. Here you'll notice that I have quite a few MDCs stored in my vault. These are MDCs that I believe that I will frequently reuse. Here's an example. the nice feature of the Vault system is that I can use it to copy any of my existing MDCs to a flight I created. So for example, if we thought that this particular MDC would be useful for the Alamo flight, we just simply click the copy button. Let's choose this guy here. Also, we don't need to copy all contents of the MDC. We can select certain portions to not be copied and not overwrite changes we may have made to the MDC that's loaded on the ops board. In this case, I'm going to copy everything. Now when we go to the Vault and take a look at Alamo, you'll notice that that MDC that was stored in my Vault has completely been copied to the Alamo 1 flight. This has been a very basic introduction to the MDC and the Vault system. For more details, please talk with members of the 476, as well as check out our forums for details on flight planning.